One is an fMRI study looking out for some effects of MDMA on PTSD symptom clusters as well as brain activity alterations, which may change after you have MDMA. If you have had a trauma before and the activity was dumped down in some regions and increased in others, this pattern may change after an MDMA experience, even without a lot of therapy, because they are not allowed put as much therapy on the patients. But in the other study, which they are allowed to do more psychotherapy, is about MDMA in alcoholism. And he will give an outline about these two projects. Thank you for being here, and welcome to the lecture panel.
What I'm going to do today is a bit of a departure from how I would normally speak, because I didn't get here till late last night, because yesterday morning I was doing a TED talk in Bristol, and it's the first time there's been a TED talk on MDMA, so that was a lot of fun, and I've never done a TED talk before. And normally I would have slides, and I would have data, and I would pontificate, and I would waffle, and in a very academic way, but TED talks are weird, and they're quite formulaic, and there's a certain way of doing it. And they even do all this training for you as to how you're supposed to present it. And they said, walk onto the stage like you're a silverback gorilla. How many that was, you have to own the place. Now that's not my normal style. I'm a very self-effacing, humble clinician. So what I'm going to do for you today is the TED talk I did yesterday. And it's kind of lower on science and higher on theatricality than how I would normally talk. But it's quite good fun. And you have to remember also, it's aimed at the general public. It's not aimed at you wonderful, enlightened people. It's aimed at people who know nothing about psychedelics and know nothing about MDMA, except maybe negative stuff. So it's a kind of presentation to get people in. So we'll give it a go, yeah? You've been warned. So, 3,4-methylene dioxymethamphetamine, MDMA. Now you've probably heard of that compound in the context of the recreational drug ecstasy. But I'm not going to talk about ecstasy today. Today I'm going to talk about the potential for MDMA as a medical treatment. A treatment we can use in psychiatry. A treatment for treating severe mental disorder. And particularly those sorts of mental disorders that are caused by trauma, psychological trauma. And especially those sorts of traumas that come out of child abuse and maltreatment. Because trust me, psychiatry is in need of a new approach to tackling trauma. Indeed, I'm going to make the proposition today that MDMA could be as important in the future of psychiatry as the discovery of antibiotics was for general medicine 100 years ago. So hello, my name is Sessa. I'm a child and adolescent psychiatrist. Now what that means is I trained as a medical doctor and did medicine and surgery, and then I specialised in mental health. And then I specialised in child and adolescent mental health. For 8 years I was working with maltreated and abused children. But in the last 5 years I've moved from that into working with adults with severe mental disorders and addictions due to substance misuse. And that developmental trajectory of my own has taken me to the door of MDMA, because I've seen patients who have failed to engage in traditional treatments and patients whose trauma has been carried through their life into their mental health problems as adults and addictions. So when we think about child abuse, I want to describe my lecture with a patient. And we're going to call her Claire. Now, Claire isn't any particular patient of mine, rather she's an amalgamation of many patients I've seen over the last 18 years as a doctor. Child abuse. We think about physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse and neglect. And we also think about noxious environments within the home. Parental criminality, parental drug addiction, parental mental illness, and social factors, high levels of unemployment, poor housing, lack of education and opportunities. Now, all of these factors impact on the developing brain of a child. What was Claire's household like? Well, Claire, her mother was depressed. Now, this depression was never accurately diagnosed by the family doctor. The family doctor didn't have the time or resources to do that, but rather the family doctor put Claire's mother onto a succession of antidepressants all the way through her life. Now, Claire's mother also had a lot of pain, lots of what we call psychosomatic symptoms, backache, knee ache, hip ache, headaches, and she was put onto opiate-based painkillers for these by the family doctor. And over the years, the doses ramped up and Claire's mother became addicted to opiates as a result of that. What was Claire's father like? He was alcoholic. And actually, he wasn't around a lot of the time during her early years. He was in and out of prison, and that's probably just as well, because when he was there, he was physically violent towards Claire and her mother. And she grew up in this atmosphere. So what does this atmosphere do to a child's developing brain? Well, forgive me, I'm going to give you a short neurophysiology lesson, and I'm going to focus on two parts of the brain. I'm going to focus on a part of the brain called the amygdala. Now, the amygdala is a very old part of the mammalian brain. It's not just humans that have it. Many animals have the amygdala. And the amygdala is a part of the brain that fires in response to stress and anxiety and fear. It's an instinctive get out, fight or flight when a person feels a threat in the environment. And then there's another part of the brain, a much more sophisticated part of the brain, and it's here in the frontal lobes above the eyes, and it's called the prefrontal cortex. Now, the prefrontal cortex only humans have, and that's the part of the brain where we use logic and reasoning and we rationalize things. And we can counteract that instinctive amygdala response with a judged and valued, balanced approach. Now, what we know is that children that grow up in very stressful environments have a very exaggerated amygdala response, and they're not so good at rationalizing and talking themselves out of fear. And that's how it was for Claire. When Claire was growing up, she never knew from 1 minute to the next whether the adult coming into the room was going to give her a kiss or a cuddle, or play with her and do a jigsaw, or was he going to kick her or punch her, or was he going to burn her with a cigarette, or was he going to rape her? Because throughout her life, Claire was sexually abused. Claire's mother moved on from prescribed opiate painkillers to street heroin. And because of the system we have with this crazy war on drugs that limits access to patients, for patients to services, she had to pay for her heroin with sex work. And the clients that came in to see Claire's mother abused Claire. So, I'm assuming this isn't dose. We have a cluster of disorders in psychiatry called anxiety-based disorders, and one of the most important of these is post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. Now, we used to think about PTSD as a disorder caused by a single catastrophic, life-threatening event, like a car accident or a fire or a bomb going off. And we don't think of it like that. In the last 10 or 15 years in psychiatry, the diagnosis has been broadened, and we now conceptualize what we call complex PTSD. The idea that each individual traumatic event doesn't have to be life-threatening or catastrophic, but it's just as frightening. You can have small, repetitive acts of trauma that go on throughout the early years, as Claire experienced with her child abuse, and the end phenotype is the same as the simple PTSD. So what are the core features of PTSD? Well, low mood, high levels of anxiety, what we call hypervigilance, a jumpiness, an edginess, the fear that the assailant and assaulter is around the next corner at every move. Claire had this. We also have what we call re-experiencing phenomena, in which the patient with PTSD has a sudden recall of their traumatic events. And this experience can flash back into their head during the day at any time, maybe triggered by some environmental cue that reminds them of the event. And when they have these events, they live out the traumatic event again, right there and then, in all the sensory modalities. They feel it, they see it, they smell it, and when they do this, they defend themselves psychologically by going into a frozen state, and we call that disassociation. They freeze, they block off all of their identity, of their emotions and feelings, and remove it from the here and now. Claire did that all the way through her childhood. Her friends thought she was strange. So, how do we treat PTSD? Well, it's really very hard to treat PTSD. And for that reason, we have a 50% treatment resistance for PTSD. Only half the patients that we work with respond to the treatments we have. We treat it with a combination of different things. We treat it with drugs. And we have a whole load of different drugs that we use to treat PTSD. And a really important point here, there is no single curative drug that treats PTSD at present. Rather, we treat it with a whole load of different what we call symptomatic treatments. If the patient's depressed, give them an antidepressant. If their moods fluctuate, give them a mood stabilizer. If they can't sleep, give them a hypnotic. And if that edginess and hypervigilance spills over into paranoia and psychosis, give them an antipsychotic. But the point about this drug treatment is you've got to keep taking the tablets every day. Because none of them actually get to the core root of the problem. None of them actually treat the trauma. They mask the symptoms, they paper over the cracks. And, you know, I use these medications for my patients. They're all we have. And they do work. They do treat the symptoms to some degree and allow for functioning. But they're not treating the cause. And a good analogy would be, if you've got an infection and a fever, you might take paracetamol or ibuprofen or aspirin as a symptomatic relief. It lowers the temperature, makes you feel a little bit better. But that aspirin or ibuprofen is not treating the infection. If you want to treat the infection, you have to take an antibiotic. And aspirin's not an antibiotic. Although it may have some antibiotic effects, actually. So, we mask the symptoms. And trust me, the pharma industry queue up to provide us as psychiatrists with the product. And take them every day. Weeks, months, decades. Now, the other way to treat PTSD is with psychotherapy. And again, there's a whole load of psychotherapies. EMDR, CBT, DAT, CAT, trauma-focused psychotherapy, trauma exposure psychotherapy, loads of different ways, and some of them are really good for that 50%. And they all take a similar kind of effect, which is, basically it goes back to an old wives' tale, a problem halved is a problem shared. Tell me about your trauma, Claire. Tell me about your rape, Claire. And you work through with your therapist over the weeks, and you learn to extinguish the fear and overcome your fears. And that is fine for that 50%. But for 50% of people, and Claire was one of them, the minute she hears the word rape, she is off, she's out of the room, and she's down a bottle of vodka. And that's another thing. High levels of substance misuse and addiction with dangerous drugs like alcohol, less dangerous drugs like heroin and cocaine. And high levels of self-harm. Claire was removed from her family when she was 15, and then brought up in a succession of foster homes and children's homes where the physical and sexual abuse continued. And to cope with the dissociative episode, she cut herself. Claire would cut herself particularly on her thighs and her breasts, which is a pretty typical picture for children who've been sexually abused, trying to eradicate the shame she feels at the sexual abuse. And she tried all the medicines, all the SSRIs. Some that worked a bit, weight gain, weight loss, she was nauseous. She tried all the psychotherapies, but she could not engage. So, okay, this is a pretty desperate situation that I'm describing. But the point is, this is not unusual, this is common, this is everyday psychiatry for people working in trauma. And we know that these treatments are not working. And sometimes psychiatry is a pretty desperate place in which to work. Sometimes psychiatry feels like a palliative care profession. And the truth is that if you are diagnosed with severe depression or anxiety in your 20s because of a history of severe child abuse, there is a pretty good chance that you will still be going to see that psychiatric clinic in your 60s and 70s. That is not good enough after 100 years of modern psychiatry. And I'm also, my experience as a child psychiatrist into an adult psychiatry, I'm always quite shocked when I see the general public's approach to developmental psychopathology with a lack of empathy. And we have all this gushing sentimentality for that little 4 or 5-year-old who's being abused, and we throw millions of pounds at them on our television campaigns to treat poor abused little victims of child abuse. So we should. What happens to that little 4 or 5-year-old when he grows up, when he's 11 or 12? I'll tell you, on goes the hood. Out comes the weed. And by the time he's 15 or 16, he's buying or selling amphetamine, and by the time he's Claire's age in his mid-20s, he's addicted to alcohol and heroin. Because he will do anything to not think about that trauma. He will block it out with whatever anesthetics he can get his hands on. So, all is not lost. It feels like we are at a position in psychiatry today where we were in general medicine in the late 19th century. Back then, we were very good at classifying and categorizing and diagnosing infectious diseases. We knew who got smallpox. We knew people died of post-operative infections, but we didn't really have a treatment. We started to learn about the microorganisms, and it wasn't until the early 20th century that we discovered antibiotics, and for the first time could stop treating symptomatically and start treating the root cause, and it transformed humanity and it transformed medicine. Now in psychiatry today, we're in a similar place. We're very good at classification and diagnosis. We write these lengthy diagnostic manuals about who gets depression, who gets anxiety, what populations they live in, and our epidemiology departments are wonderful. We even know the cause, trauma, child abuse, but our treatments are poor because we do not have that antibiotic. Or do we? MDMA. Now, MDMA's psychological profile and receptor profile is quite remarkable, quite unique. And I'd like to just imagine a fictional scenario where you have, sitting at a table, a PTSD therapist and a chemist. And they're sitting down and the chemist says, I want to design a drug for you that's going to work for trauma-focused psychotherapy. What sort of qualities do you want? PTSD therapist says, wow, it'd be really good if it had some serotonin 1A, 1B effects to increase positive mood, lower depression and anxiety, and make the patient feel a bit more positive. Okay, cool, we'll give you that. What about a bit of 5-HT2A effect as well, like classical hallucinogens? So it makes them think outside the box and gives them a new way of thinking about stuff. Okay, let's do that, but not quite as severe as LSD, just a little bit. Okay. Okay, what about we throw in a bit of dopamine effect? We raise them like we get with amphetamine and cocaine, a little bit of stimulation, not as high as amphetamine and cocaine, but a little bit to motivate them to engage. Cool, you can have that. But the thing is, they've got hypervigilance, so they can't be too stimulated. Can we throw in an alpha-2 adrenal receptor effect, so they're kind of paradoxically relaxed at the same time? And then we put them into this optimal arousal zone, where they're just right for psychotherapy. Sure, you can have that. But, oh my God, let's add some oxytocin. What does oxytocin do? Oxytocin is a hormone secreted from the brains of breastfeeding mothers. It increases the sense of empathy and bonding and attachment. And that is why MDMA is the ideal, hypothetical, but real drug for trauma-focused psychotherapy. It ticks all the boxes. So what does MDMA psychotherapy look like? Well, we may have a course of psychotherapy, 8, 10, 12 weeks, and during those sessions, you don't take MDMA every day, you don't take it every week, you maybe take it 2 or 3 times over the course of that therapy session. And the other sessions are non-drug assisted, in which the patient and the therapist, often a male-female therapist, pair to mimic this dyadic relationship of parenting, but positive parenting in a sense of trust, like this patient has never experienced. So let's imagine, let's go back to Claire. She's 40 now. She's been in and out of prison because she too has moved on to sex work to pay for her crime, to pay for her drugs. She's been in and out of prison for drug offences and shoplifting. She's been in and out of psychiatric hospital all her life. Section of the Mental Health Act for her self-harm and suicide attempts. So she joins this course. What does it feel like for Claire when she takes MDMA? Well, what MDMA does is it produces this incredible sense of peace and serenity and emotional containment. It holds her. It's like a life jacket or a bulletproof vest for her to wear to go into battle with her trauma. And when the therapist moves her towards talking about the trauma for the first time in her life, she is able to do that. In the past, the word rape and she'd be out the door. With MDMA, under the cushion of MDMA, she's like, I can talk about this. And the tears are streaming down her face as she talks about, he came into the room, I can smell the whiskey on his breath, I can feel the stubble on his face. It is difficult, painful, distressing work. Don't get me wrong, she is not in ecstasy. It is hard, trauma-focused work. But the MDMA just gives her this edge. It holds her. It lets her, for the first time in her life, engage in trauma-focused psychotherapy like she's never been able to do. And from here, she can start the healing process. From here, with integration of these experiences, and to move into a new lifestyle in which she embraces a sense of positivity that comes from her, for the first time in her life, her feelings of self-worth. You are a good person, Claire. You are not a worthless shit. This is not your fault. You didn't do this. You have a capacity to love and to have relationships, and you can see it and you can feel it. And sure, this is a transient drug-induced experience. It's not real love. But for someone who has never felt that experience, every emotion they've had has been pain and distress. To have that experience, even if it's transient and drug-induced, it has huge capabilities to provide them with a platform and a blueprint in which to go on and use that. So does MDMA therapy work? Well, we've known about MDMA therapy for 30 or 40 years, and there are thousands of positive anecdotal case reports. I get 5 emails a week. Dr. Sessa, I've had PTSD all my life, I took MDMA, I can finally start making a breakthrough. And there's many anecdotal reports. But that's not science. But what we have had in the last few years is some really important studies, good, methodologically sound studies. And we look at the pilot studies that have been done. 100% of people go into the course with PTSD. 85% are completely cured at the end of the course. 85%, not just symptom reduction, do not meet the diagnostic criteria for PTSD anymore. And when we follow up that cohort for 3 years, they have remained cured. Cured. We don't use the cure word in psychiatry. But we should and we can. So it works. Is it safe? Well, first thing about safety. When we think about safety with MDMA, we must not, under any circumstances, extrapolate what we see about recreational ecstasy use and use that as an example of demonized clinical MDMA. I don't even know what ecstasy is anymore. I mean, what is it? It's some dodgy pill bought off some dodgy geezer in some dodgy club that may or may not contain some MDMA plus or minus whatever other toxic substances. Clinical MDMA is delivered in a clinical setting with therapists and a doctor present and psychologists, with support, with integration, with preparation. And under those circumstances, any of the risk factors can be reduced down to a 0. And indeed, after 30 years of MDMA research, there has not been a single serious adverse drug-related event with MDMA, and certainly no deaths. So, just to sum up, it works. It's efficacious. And incidentally, that 85% reduction blows out of the water the very next best treatments with this combination of SSRIs and psychotherapies. It works and it's efficacious, and it's safe. Where are we going with MDMA science? Well, this is a very exciting time to be involved in MDMA science. We've mainly looked at PTSD with MDMA, but maybe we can broaden like we broadened the diagnosis of PTSD itself, maybe we can broaden the uses of MDMA therapy. Maybe it can work as a non-specific adjunct to psychotherapy for a whole load of things. Depression, social anxiety in autistic adults. And that's a study that's ongoing. And perhaps addictions, because 98% of my patients who I see with adult addictions have come from a traumatic experience of childhood. Not necessarily the severe physical or sexual abuse that hits the radar for social services, but when I ask my patients, what was your childhood like, they almost all say, crack. Some people say this is controversial or unethical. This isn't controversial. I'm not a controversial person. I'm a boring, straight-laced, conservative, sober doctor that is data-driven in my practice. I'm driven by data and I'm driven by evidence-based practice. I will not give to my patients something that I do not believe is safe and efficacious, because I value the clairs. I'll tell you what's unethical. What is unethical is that untreated PTSD is killing my patients, and I've seen too many young people and adults kill themselves through untreated PTSD because they cannot engage in psychotherapy and medication that works. That is unethical. And we see more suicides from PTSD that's been untreated in the returning soldiers from Afghanistan and Iraq than ever died in the conflict out there. That is controversial and unethical. So it's a good future for MDMA science. This population of patients who've been failed by the medical system deserve this research and this treatment. It could be as big as antibiotics were 100 years ago. We owe it to them and we owe it to Claire. Thank you.
I think